there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to paint this gorgeous, beautiful, brilliant scene using Brusho. And if you'd like a real-time version of this tutorial, you can find it in Critique Club. I will link that down below so you can learn more and see if it's right for you. We're going to start off with some watercolor paper. I've got a block of 9x12 Hahnemühle Harmony watercolor paper, and I have got some little pots of Brusho and other watercolor pigment powders. You can use whatever brand you want. I'm using a combination of the Brusho and the Ken Oliver powders, but I've also used the infusions, the nuance, the pixie powders. They all pretty much work the same, so get whatever is the most affordable and easy for you to find. You can even use tie-dye powder. I would avoid the like the RIT dye powder if you're experimenting with different like fabric dyes to use, but the tie-dye kind that come in like tie-dye kits work really well. So there's a little budget option for you if you're looking to go that way. So I'm going to go and sketch a hot air balloon here. I'd found a reference photo of a hot air balloon over the water during a sunset. And that's kind of loosely what I'm basing this on. And I'm starting off by wetting some of the background. So not the balloon, but some of the sky and some of the water. And I'm just kind of flicking on water and just adding some color. And I'm sprinkling some Brusho into a piece of folded paper. And I'm going to use that to apply it so I don't get too heavy-handed. I'd seen that tip from an artist named Ward Gene Stroud, I believe is his name. And he does have some YouTube videos if you want to check him out. He uses Brusho a lot. Otherwise, I tend to just get really heavy-handed with it, and with Brusho, the thing I found is that just to go really light with it and you get a much better result. Now, I've also put some in my porcelain palette there so I can use it as a watercolor as well. Now, I did a little research on Brusho over on the Colorcraft website. They're the makers of Brusho, and on their frequently asked questions, people had asked whether the Brusho was light fast or not, and they kind of dodged the question a little bit by saying that it's as light fast as other watercolor products, and that they have artwork that's been hanging in their offices for 30 years. It's still as vibrant as when it was painted, so they seem to think it's pretty light fast. I'm a little skeptical because it does appear to be more of a dye than a pigment, but you know, use your own judgment, I suppose, just as with anything. So basically, I am using a brush to kind of manipulate it a bit to give the cloud textures and also to give some of the like water ripple textures, but for the most part, I'm trying to let the brush do its thing. So I don't want to disturb all of those little bursts of color. I want to encourage it to kind of do its thing. So there you can see I actually did puff a little bit of the ultramarine Brusho into, or actually that was a Ken Oliver powder, into the sky. You just got to be careful because it's really easy to get too much that way. But you know, yeah, experiment and see what works best for you. Like I wanted more yellow, so I went ahead and I just kind of shook some yellow right into that area where the sun was setting. Now I was going to do kind of some rainbow colors in the balloon. I wanted to keep reusing the same colors, whether I mix them or not. So I'm only using, I think, about 5 colors here. I've got like a turquoise, an ultramarine, an orchid, which is like a pretty bright purple actually, a rose red, and a yellow. I think that's pretty much what I used. But you know, again, you don't need to have a ton of colors because they are very transparent and very mixable. Just, you know, use what you have and have fun. I started off with like 3 colors of Brusho, and it was like rose red, turquoise, and yellow. And just to see if I like the medium. The black Brusho is kind of neat because there are a bunch of different colors in there that can give you some unique effects. And they do have a lot of just fun colors to play with. I wasn't crazy about that green. Even though I mixed it with colors I've already used, for me that green really stood out. And it took a bit to integrate that into the picture because it just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like stuck out like a sore thumb to me. But you're going to see as I work through this picture the different things that I did to pull things together. I had a large purple bleedy area next to the balloon that I did not like, so I decided I would do some flicking of paint and water and then sprinkling in some of the Brusho powders to kind of make it look like there was kind of like a sparkly trail of magic dust kind of in the balloon's path. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can do that on the other side to integrate that green in, because the green was just, you remember how I said it was kind of sticking out like a sore thumb? So I did that in order to kind of pull that color out and help it kind of cascade across the painting. And also having this kind of, kind of spursty, sparkly trail, I thought would also bring some movement through the painting, so it would kind of draw the eye through. It's very difficult when you're using this medium to have a little bit of control, because it's really easy to just go a little overboard and go a little too far sometimes. So you just gotta kind of keep an eye on that. It's also a very fast medium. This painting, you know, honestly, I almost was going to call it done after about a half an hour, but I kept playing with it, and I think I spent about an hour on it. The real-time version, I think, is about an hour and 8 minutes in Critique Club. So there's more you can do, but you do have to be careful that you don't overdo it. Now, one kind of neat thing with the Brusho is that you can flick water on it and let the water sit for a minute and disturb the watercolor. Then you can blot it off and get this kind of like stained, almost like distress oxide. You get this kind of stained, spattery effect. It just kind of like almost bleaches and lightens it up, which I think is kind of fun. It just gives it a neat effect, and it can give you kind of a cloudy look. And that's what I was going for there in the sky. I just can't stress enough that you need to experiment with this, and don't try to plan too much, because it's not a very predictable medium. I also tried doing some like streaks in the water for like ripples and blotting it up, but I didn't have enough pigment in the water for it to really stand out. You kind of need a lot of pigment for that lifting technique to work, because it basically leaves you with like a lighter stained image. So at this point I was like, I think I want to be able to bring back some whites, so I decided to use the Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, and I'm using that for some of the highlight. Now if you hit a piece of undissolved pigment powder like I did in the yellow, I hit a piece of turquoise undissolved pigment powder, it just kind of like mixes into the white gouache and gives you like a pastel shade, which is kind of a fun unexpected surprise, which I liked, but you just want to kind of be aware of that. You might even want to just completely dry the paper and brush it off with like a dry clean brush, just to make sure you don't have anything left. And when you go to clean up your space when you're done, you are going to have like, you're going to find all these colors you can't even see until you go wipe it with like a wet paper towel, and then you're like, oh wow. You'll probably blow your nose too later that day and realize like your tissue will be like orange or something, because that little powder goes everywhere. I wanted to add a little bit more of a glittery confetti feeling to the sky, so I spattered on some white, and then I did use my brush to kind of manipulate. Now the brush I'm using for most of this painting is a number 4 quill by Princeton Neptune. It is a synthetic squirrel, so it's completely vegan and animal friendly, but it's super absorbent, just like your traditional squirrel quills. I highly recommend the Neptune line too if you like a really thirsty brush. But now I'm going in with a golden Taklon brush and doing the ripples in the water. Now to add scale, you want your kind of swashes to be larger, close to the bottom of your painting, away from the horizon line, and they get smaller closer to the horizon line, because as you get away from the horizon line in your picture, things are closer to you, so whether it's the sky or the water. Now, another way you can build scale is to add like something else that you can move in the depth of field, which in this case would be birds. So I thought I would paint a few seagulls kind of like swirling around the balloon. I thought it'd be kind of energetic and would give us a little more life. And I wasn't really sure. I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just do 3 and I'll have it over there. And because honestly, I was kind of afraid I would ruin the painting. And I was like, I needed a little bit more contrast, so I decided to give the seagulls their like wingtips, feet, and beaks to make them kind of stand out a little bit. And I liked the way this looked, and I loved the movement of the birds, that they weren't just V's in the background. But I was kind of also thinking that I was kind of chickening out. And whenever I get that feeling like, oh, I'm afraid to ruin it, then I know that I really need to try and experiment, because I'm getting too safe, I'm getting too comfortable. So after getting these seagulls in, I thought, I really want to put some larger birds in, but I was confused as to how I wanted to do that. So I had to think a bit, and there's nothing wrong with taking a break, giving your eyes a rest, and coming back to your painting later. So what I did was I actually drew some seagulls on some scrap paper, and I cut them out, and then I started placing them around my painting to decide where I wanted them to go. And after I figured out where I wanted them to go, I just traced them with a little bit of gouache, and I'm filling them in. So my Inktense palette is there because I thought, oh, those would go good with the Brusho. I was just going to use the white, but it was not as opaque as the Bleed Proof White, and it did pick up a lot of the color underneath and mix in, whereas the Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, as long as you don't add water to it, will sit on top of the ink and not let it bleed through. If I mix water with it though, I can get it to interact with the inks underneath. So it's just very versatile. It is a bit pricey, but it lasts a long time. It's a very thick, dense gouache. And I highly recommend it if you're looking for like a true white to add to like your mixed media projects, your ink projects. It's just really wonderful. So, keep it in mind if you're looking for a product like that. I'll try to remember to link it up down below so you can find it. And now I'm just adding some detail and shadow to those larger birds so they can stand out a little bit more. I did find that with the chaos of the Brusho and the spattering and all of that, it was kind of difficult to get the birds to stand out, but I just loved the gracefulness of the flying seagulls, and I loved how they were just kind of like almost like whipping around that balloon. It just kind of felt like a magical place, like I don't know, like Care Bear Land, like Care-a-Lot or something, or something from a Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper that I probably had when I was in junior high. I don't know. I just love the colors and the freedom of working with this medium, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, if you would like a real-time version of this, you want some more information about Brusho, please check out Critique Club. It's $5 a month, and you have access to 52 mixed media tutorials. Plus, you can upload your work every month for a critique from me, and I post 2 new tutorials every month in the group. So that list of tutorials just keeps on growing. It's a wonderful group of folks. I would love to have you if you're looking to grow as an artist, and you can cancel anytime. So do check it out. If you are curious, I'll have it linked down below along with the products that I used today. So here I'm just kind of adding little bits, little adjustments. The black is actually just a mixture of all the different Brusho colors I've used so far. I just mixed them together on my palette and use that for the background. And there is a link to my school, lindsayweirich.teachable.com, where you can find Critique Club. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.